Welcome to another episode of the Recovering Cinderella podcast. Real stories of hope, inspiration, and advice from women who have made it through divorce for women going through it. My name is Keri Lauderdale Olson. I'm also known as Recovering Cinderella. I'm a master certified life coach specializing in helping women move forward and build new lives they love after divorce. Today, we're going to be talking with Stella. Stella has been through, like me, not one, but two divorces. And honestly, her stories are very, very inspirational as to everything that she went through in her marriages and how she's overcome some of those challenges. So welcome to the Recovering Cinderella podcast, Stella.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm a big fan of yours personally and of Recovering Cinderella. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be here and to be vulnerable and share your stories. One of the reasons I asked you on the show was because I personally know your stories. Like we have known each other for many years, and I met you when you were going through your first divorce, and as you went through your second, which was one of the most tenuous divorces that I have witnessed. So why don't we start with your first divorce?
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about, how long ago it was and some of the challenges that you faced.
Sure. So we'll call him the lawyer. I met the lawyer at a job. And the thing is, I was 36 years old. I had been in several long relationships, but wasn't to the point where I ever wanted to marry them. And this person was different than anybody else. And he made me laugh, coupled with a mom, very sick, dying with cancer, and a dad who was very fearful that I was going to, and I quote, die alone. So I think I really felt the pressure when I met this guy to make a go of it, to give it a try. And unfortunately, that was in 2008. Immediately after we were married, he lost his job and then did not get a new one for 2 years. So I was paying 2 mortgages by myself. I was working. I started my own business to kind of add to our income. I would come home every day. He was not showering. He was not trying to get a job. I had to pay someone to let his dogs out. We took Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey, and that's when I found out he had racked up $100,000 in credit card debt while at home instead of getting a job. I was devastated.
Wow. That is devastating. I mean, to not only have to deal with a spouse that isn't pulling their own weight even a little bit, and then to find out that not only has he not been even trying to find a job, but he's racked up $100,000 in credit card debt is overwhelming.
Yeah. It was during that time I also discovered I couldn't have children. That was a contention with him as well. He was not interested in fostering or adopting. It just went downhill pretty fast. And I saw the writing on the wall, like, get out or he's going to take me down with him.
Was there a specific incident, or was there just a point where you'd had enough? Was there a certain breaking point, or you reached that point and you're like, I'm done?
I did reach that point and I was done. I think the breaking point was the $100,000 in debt, and the fact that since we worked at the same place and we were married, he had access to one of my retirement accounts. He cashed out some of my retirement to pay off his BMW. And I think that's when I was like, he's not even trying to be in this with me. He is not even trying to work on this or figure out a way to climb out of what he's gotten us into. And I think that was just it.
Yeah. So how long had you guys been married?
2 years.
Okay. So in 2 years, and it apparently, it happened pretty quickly that he didn't have a job, and all of a sudden, much like, I can relate to a lot of your story. But all of a sudden, the rug's been pulled out from under you, and here you think you're going to have this happily ever after. And all of a sudden, you not only do you not have a happily ever after, you're living in a nightmare. So as you started through this divorce process, how long did it take for you to get a divorce? And talk a little bit about what were some of the steps that you took to get through that divorce?
Sure. First, I'd like to say I honestly believe in the sanctity of marriage. When I married that man, I really thought that this was going to be forever. And I mean, he was told, I guess, that his job was on the line when we were engaged. I had no idea. I mean, I feel like that's something he should have shared with me when we were engaged. Um, and also, I didn't know that he had had a DUI. And so when the whole time I dated him and was engaged to him, he just told me he didn't drink, which was fine with me. It wasn't until we tried to rent a car that I had to do it, that he had to come clean. And that was after we were married. And so I feel like honesty is so hard to find these days. How, I'm sorry, was your question how I?
Just, I mean, how you kind of move forward. And before we
Oh,
get to
sure.
that, I completely agree with you about honesty. I mean,
Yeah,
as you know, my second husband lied about a lot of things.
sure.
And had he been the man I thought he was, I would probably still be married to him, but he lied about
Sure.
who he was. And once somebody starts off a relationship, especially a marriage, with lies, there's not a lot of places to go. You know,
Right.
if you're going to lie up front, then, expecting your spouse, new spouse especially, to just accept those lies, and when they find out, not have any repercussions to that is a little unreasonable. So, you were married 2 years, and then you decide to file for divorce, and
Yeah.
what?
It, and I know that seems like it was a short amount of time. And I guess I would just like the listeners to know time in a situation like this isn't a major factor. I had to be hit over the head. Like, I grew up with parents that were happily married until my mom passed away. I mean, for years and years and years and years and years. So I I I wanted that for me. I wanted that. I wanted to stand by my man. I think that my message to all these listeners is, yeah, we need to do that. We need to support each other and stand by our man. But when he is not the person he represents him to be, and the writing is on the wall, and you get that feeling that is, girl, no one's going to take care of you in this situation but you. And I think um, finding that group of intimate women, I call them my sisters, all kind of going through that together. Didn't know one of them before I walked into that room. I had already RSVP'd that I would not go into that room to meet these women that had been recently divorced. And something made me put on my coat and get in my car, and I found myself there. And that was the best thing I ever did, because we were all hurting, we were all broken, and we were all ready to get back up. And just to have the constant encouragement that it's yeah, you have to own your part in it. Nobody put a gun to my head and made me marry this man, but so I own that, but I don't own that he misrepresented himself.
Absolutely not. And I think that, for those of us who have been in a situation where we're with somebody who has consistently misrepresented things to us, out and out lied, or misled by not being honest, and then piece by piece the truth comes out, um, it's hard not to feel responsible. I know I personally felt like, wow, how did I not see that? But you
Yeah,
can't see what someone chooses to hide from you or not be honest
no,
about. And to your point about,
but you can decide how you're going to react to that,
yes,
right?
you can. And finding a sisterhood of women that are in similar situations is so empowering. And that's one of the reasons that I've started support groups for women who are going through divorce, to kind of connect them with other women, because you can't even understand the power in that until you experience it. And
Well,
just
thank you for doing that. I think that women don't even know the power of that, and so what you're doing is a gift.
thank you. I appreciate that. And but it is, because I went through, I found my own sisterhood as well. And those sisters, it's been 10 years, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't talk to at least one of them. But we went through something because we went through it together, and it's so powerful. So, it sounds like that was a big part of your healing moving forward after your first divorce.
Yes, yes. I think, and I know we'll get into this in my second divorce, but um, there is power in healing together. Women need to be there for other women. Um, I can't even describe how much that played a significant role in my being able to move forward in my healing. And, if I can just say, over the years, I've gotten two pieces of advice that I want to share because both of them, um, coupled with the women's support groups, are what got me through. And one is, if you don't like what someone brings to the table, in other words, you don't like something about the what the man in your relationship is bringing to your relationship, leave the table. You don't have to try to change him. You don't have to change yourself. You can just leave the table. And that has been something that I come back to a lot. And the other piece of information is, when someone shows you their true colors, believe him. Oh
Yeah,
my
believe
gosh,
them.
these guys, I made excuses for them. I looked the other way on things instead of seeing their true colors and being like, no, thank you.
But it's that I've talked about this on the show before, is that, we have that natural gut instinct. And like you said, when something's telling you that something's not right, if you listen to it, and as women, we tend not to. We tend to make excuses, or we tend to overlook it, or we tend to kind of ignore that gut instinct. And that gut instinct is biologically there for a reason. Your gut tells you when things aren't right. And because we want things to be right, and we want this to be the person, when we marry somebody, we don't want a divorce. We don't get married wanting a divorce. We get married
No.
thinking this is the person we're going to be with forever. And so when those red flags start showing up, and you're trying to reconcile your heart and your head, and it can be a very challenging time. But good for you for having the power to walk away. Even though it was 2 years, in those 2 years, there was a lot that happened, and you had the power to walk away, and you did. And so, congratulations on being able to walk away from that situation before you got in, years and years later. So talk a little bit about your life after your first divorce. What changed for you?
Um, let's see, what did change for me? I think I put my focus on something entirely different. Instead of focusing on not being able to, or relationship, I focus on what is it that I really, when I see myself, what is it? And I always saw myself as a mom. And it was devastating news that I wouldn't be able to have children, but that doesn't mean I don't get a chance to be a mom. And so I put all my energy in that. I fostered several little kiddos, and that's where I poured out my love. I think I got myself in these relationships, in these not so great relationships, because I have all this love to give and no one to give it to, right? And I just had to channel it in a different direction. So I channeled it towards children. And I think you can channel it towards pets. I think you can channel it towards yourself, or you just start caring for yourself, whether that looks like getting a makeover, or finding a way to eat healthy, or exercise, or finding yourself a group of women to be with, or just channeling that love that you have to give in a different direction. That is also another powerful healing method, I think. And that's what I did.
So that's amazing, and I agree with you. You have to start channeling that love into something else, and being able to love yourself, and being able to love others, and being able to reach out to those in need are powerful, powerful ways to turn your own life around, because you start looking at other things and not wasting all your time and energy on somebody who doesn't deserve it.
Or
And
want to, or know how to give it back.
yeah,
You know,
so you became a foster mom, which is amazing. And, what came out of all that?
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I had a broken heart a few times over that too. I mean, you love unconditionally these kids, and sometimes, I mean, they stay with you a while. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go to better situations, sometimes they don't. And so it was just, I learned how to love without expecting anything in return, but knowing what true love looks like. I always think of the Frozen movie when it was about the love between sisters. And I think that we all crave what we view or how we define what true love looks like. And I think I figured out for myself through channeling love in that direction, how to love and how to be loved.
Oh, that's great. So, you've mentioned that you know now you're a mom.
I am.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So it's funny through my relationships and through whether I was dating or engaged or married or fostering or whatever, God has always played a significant role. And I don't want to not mention him or my faith, um, because it's very, very important to me. But the thing about my relationship with God is he tries to just kind of steer me in the right direction, and I don't do it. And then he's got to hit me over the head, and he does a pretty big job of doing that. Um, he brings me to it, and sometimes it's bringing me to my knees and being like, I surrender and I hear you now. And that happened with one of my foster kiddos. She was meant to be adopted by a family all set, and went to live with them, and it didn't work out. And they called me and said, she wants to come back to you, but we want you to consider adopting her because we don't want her to go from home to home. And I was like, why not? I love this kid. I mean, so that's how it came to be. But God's like, okay, I'm going to keep bringing her back and putting in her lap until you see that this is my plan for you.
So, I mean, that's inspirational in itself. You know, you're told you can't have kids when you're married. You get
Right.
divorced, and you still have this dream that you want to be a mother. And so you start fostering kids and pouring out that love, and then you adopt one of these foster kids because she was meant to be yours. I mean,
Yep.
what an inspirational story. And you did that on your own. You didn't do that with somebody else, right?
Right.
And I think that's powerful, because I think sometimes we limit our dreams and limit what we think we can accomplish on our own, and feel like we have to have a partner to do that. And you don't. You know, there isn't anything that you can't do on your own. And so, you know, it's awesome that you adopted this child on your own and you became her mom, and it made, you know, your dream come true of being a mom, and you gave her a family, which was part of her dream.
Right. She's definitely a gift. I'm the lucky one.
That's just amazing. So thank you for sharing that story.
Of
So
course.
you move on from your divorce, you're finding, you know, you're finding these new ways of channeling this love. You become a mom, you adopt a child, and then husband number 2 comes along.
Boy, did he ever. So he caught me off guard. Talk about charisma and just kind of coming in big, and um, buying lavish gifts for my daughter and for me, and just everything you think. I think, oh my gosh, this is what I've waited all these years for. This is the person I'm supposed to be with. Yada yada yada. And boy, he was a con artist. I think I will refer to him as the con artist. And I mean, I don't need to get into the whole story, but I will tell you that as soon as I was married, it was like an entirely different person. Um, I look back and I guess there were some red flags, but I sure didn't see them. I was so focused on, this is my time, this is happening. He finally walked into my life. I wasn't paying close enough attention to what was really happening.
So, and I know for me, when I went through my second, or when I met my second husband, I was a single mom at the time. And for me, a big part of that was when I met Prince Charming, I felt like here was somebody who was going to be a good role model for my children, you know, was going to be there and kind of play that father role. And he was going to bring security to our lives, and was going to be this person that wasn't in their lives on a regular basis. And it was as much about how much I fell in love with him as how he treated my kids.
Sure.
and I think as a single mom, that always comes into play, is wanting the best for your children, and wanting to create this better life for them. And, when you think you've found somebody who loves them as much as you do, and wants to spoil them and wants to be a part of their life and wants to play that role, it's hard not to, right?
Yeah, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that was exactly the case. And I look back and I said, and I think the first marriage, I think I probably did it not consciously thinking, pleasing my family, my parents. My mom was going to die knowing that I was married and I was going to be okay. And my dad was not going to have to worry that I was going to die alone, as he would say. My second one, I think I thought, you know what? This guy he had 4 kids of his own. This guy's going to be an amazing dad. This is what my daughter deserves. This is as good as it's going to get for me, blah, blah, blah. If I ever do it again, it's going to be for me. I mean, yeah, he's going to have to be an amazing father, but he's going to have to be an amazing husband. And I'm not going to do it for anyone but for myself. I still hold out hope and faith that there is a good, loving, faithful man out there. I just have to do a better job of dating and knowing what is important to me and what I'm not going to compromise. There's a lot of things in life and in relationships that you need to compromise, and there's a lot of things you don't.
I agree with you 100%. And I think you said something really important there. You spent enough time on your own to know what it was that you weren't willing to settle for and what it was you need, right?
Right.
And unless you spend the time figuring that out, it is hard to find the right person after a divorce, because it's really easy to jump in and start dating, and just trying to fill that void. But until you figure out who you are and what it is that you need that is going to make you happy, and what you bring to the table as well, right? Because it's a two-way street. But I think it's so critical to spend that time figuring that out, so that when you are ready to date, you know what it is that you're not, both what you're looking for and what you're not looking for.
Right. So important.
So as you look back, and I don't know how much you want to get into your second divorce. I know it was very contentious, and it dragged out a very, very long time. Um, as you look back over these 2 divorces, what did you learn just about the divorce process that you can share with our listeners?
Well, let's see. I learned that getting a good attorney is key, a female preferably. But I learned not to back down. I knew what I was not going to accept. And I'm a very fair person, and justice is a big thing with me. Obviously, as a foster parent, justice just runs really strong in me. But I wasn't out to ruin this man, even though he deserves it. I wasn't out to bankrupt him or to get anything that wasn't mine. I just asked that whatever we both put in the same amount for our home. I just wanted us to split that 50-50. I wasn't asking for the money he took out of my retirement. I wasn't asking for all the things of mine that he sold and kept the money for. I wasn't asking for any of that. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you do it. I'm saying know what you're not going to accept, and don't waver.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, because I didn't use an attorney for my divorces, which I highly regret still to this day. The best advice you can do is, or you can receive, is to get a good attorney. It's worth every penny that you spend up front in the long haul. So as as you kind of have recovered from the second divorce, what were some things that helped you recover the second time around? Were there different things than the first time, or were,
It was still women, but it was different. So I don't know if the listeners have seen the episode Dirty John, but I lived it. I married a con artist who's done this to several women, and these women have have found each other through mutual friends or through Facebook or through his children who he exposed to all of us. And we've met, and it is seriously like a sisterhood. I always say we may appear on Dateline someday, who knows. He conned us all out of money, out of time. He everything he could lie about, he did, about jobs, about relationships, about
didn't he lie
what
about
he
his
had for breakfast, where he was. I mean,
name, right?
all
He
of it.
lied about his name.
Yeah, he went by a different name with all of us. I mean, wow. So if I can come back from that, ladies, I feel like I'm here to say you can come back from anything. You find your girls, and you come back, because that is the worst revenge. Because you know what? In the end, we're going to be okay. He's still going to be a horrible human being, and it's not going to get him far in life.
So, I mean, a Dirty John story, and if you guys haven't heard of Dirty John, it was a podcast, and it's a true story, and then they made it into a mini series, and I think it may be on Netflix now, but it is definitely worth a watch. But to be living that is pretty incredible. And you find these women. Did you know about any of them before your marriage, that
Not one.
he had this history of doing this?
Nope.
So,
but I've met 5 so far. I'm sure there's more out there.
Wow. That is, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Not in a good way, not the way
No.
that you want it to be. So it's awesome that you ladies found each other and you were able to support each other, because you truly did understand what the other one was going through, or what you each had gone through with the same person. And hopefully it will catch up to him at some point.
Yeah, well, we could publish his playbook. I mean, he seriously used all of the same everything, places he took us, trips he took us on, things he said to us, texts he sent to us, things he
Wow.
bought us, all the same.
So he had it down pat, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you've come back from the second divorce, and what would you say? I mean, I always say I can't regret my divorces, because they are part of, they helped create who I am today. How do you feel about your divorces, looking back now?
My faith is stronger. My intuition is followed a little bit more. I listen to my friends when they meet him, and their first impressions and their feedback. I want to meet his friends. It should have been a red flag. My second husband had, and my first for that matter, had no guy friends. That's alarming. That's a sign. I just do things differently. I pray for my future husband. Yeah, I feel like I just involve more people, and I pay attention.
But you still have hope.
I do have hope.
And
I still have a lot of love to give.
I still have hope. I still believe in marriage. People ask me doing this show, do I hate men, or do I not believe in marriage? And no to both of those. I think that there are good men out there, and I think that I believe in marriage. I think there is plenty of time to find the right person and make sure it is the right person. And I have hope, and I think that you should have hope as we move forward in life. And that's part of healing, is having hope that there is something better out there, and that you do still get your happily ever after.
Amen.
So as you look back at both divorces, is there one piece of advice that you would give somebody going through it now, that either you wish you knew, or that you would say, you have to, this is the one thing you have to do?
Well, I wish someone would have told me during both of them, because the guilt I felt was incredible. Is that, one, this does not define you. Do I like the sound of 2 divorces? No, not at all. Did I think that was going to be my story? Is that what I set out to do? No. Does that define me? No. It's what I take with those experiences and how I go forward. Am I going to make those same mistakes again? No, I'm not. Am I going to come out okay? Yeah, I am.
And I believe you are. Thank you, Stella, for being here today and sharing your story and being transparent. And I just wish you all the best with your, your path on motherhood and, hope for the future. And I appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
So ladies, if you have not followed me on Facebook or Instagram, you can follow me at recoveringcinderella.com. If you're interested in finding your tribe of women that we talked about, finding those women, those sisters that can help get you through your divorce, who truly understand, regardless of the stage of divorce you're at, you can apply to be in one of my support groups at recoveringcinderella.com. I put groups together based on the stage of divorce that you're in, and each group is facilitated by a person that has been through it. I facilitate a lot of the groups myself, and I'm a master certified life coach. And you kind of learn how to heal while at the same time forming a bond with other women who truly get what you're going through and are there to support you. So again, you can go to recoveringcinderella.com to apply to be in one of the support groups, or I also do one-on-one personal coaching to help women move forward after divorce and create new lives they love. If you have your own Recovering Cinderella story, you can also apply to be on the Recovering Cinderella podcast at recoveringcinderella.com. Have a great week, beautiful. And remember, your story didn't end with your divorce. You are still writing it, and the next chapter is going to be even better than the last.